Before we start refining the skin weighting, what I absolutely have to emphasize at that point is that the key to a successful and painless skin weighting is locking the right joints. So whenever you feel that Maya is not doing what you want it to do while doing the skin weighting, then please check your lockings first, because it's most likely that the troubles you are having are only resulting out of this issue. So before we are proceeding to the next step, I will first turn off the X-ray joints option so that we can see better our geometry. We will now smooth out the transition areas between all the lip joints. We will start with the mid-up lip joint and will then go clockwise around the lips. For selecting the border edges of the influenced areas, do the same method as we used in the last clip. What we do now is smoothing the weighting here by letting the weights be shared between two joints. And whenever you want to have two joints sharing the weighting of a certain area, then you should go for a proper locking, meaning all the joints shall be locked besides the two between whose you want to share the weighting. And after that, you can now drag the value slider for one of the joints until you are pleased with the deformation. Repeat those steps for all the border loops of all the areas for the appropriate joints. And while you are doing that, please keep in mind that it is absolutely necessary and crucial for a good-looking result that you are disciplined enough to always check the locking of the right joints before you are going on with the next smoothing out of the next loop. When you are finished with this step, your deformation should now look somewhat like this. So the smoothing between the single lip joints is perfectly well done. The only thing that is missing is the smoothing of the outer area of the mouth, so between all the lip joints and the head joint, and all the lip joints and the jaw joint on the lower side. When we want to do that, first thing, as always, is to lock and unlock the right joints. So we want to smooth the transition between the head, and we will start with the mid joint on the upper lip. For this step, it's best to go through vertex by vertex, so this is why we are switching back to the vertex mode again. Now you reduce line by line, starting from the top, the weighting for the lip joint. In the top row, make it very, very low. In the following row, make it a little bit more. In the following even more, and so on until the vertices defining the lips directly remain fully weighted to the joints. You will have to touch more or less each vertex individually to define a smooth deformation. Do this smoothing as well in the outer mouth as in the inner mouth area. And repeat it for each of the lip joints. As always, do not forget the locking of the right joints. When it comes towards the mouth corner joints, please remember that the lower area shall be shared not between the head joint and the lips joint, but between the jaw joint and the lips joint. So somewhere during the process of defining the smoothing of the lip corner joint, you have to switch from locking the jaw joint to locking the head joint and unlocking vice versa. When it comes to the inner side of the lower lip, it is pretty hard to touch the appropriate vertices. What you can do here is either go to a frame in the timeline where the mouth is open to better be able to select those vertices, or you have to go to the wireframe mode, which means that you have to press 4 on the keyboard to see better which vertices to touch and where you can move them. You might wonder whether it wouldn't have been a better idea to do not define such a huge range for the single joints at the beginning. And the answer is clearly no. Of course, you are very welcome to try that on your own. You will then see that instead of decreasing the weights for the lip joints, you will then have to increase the weights for the lip joints. And that doesn't make less work. In the end, it makes at least the same amount of work, if not even more, because you always have to check out that in the most extreme deformation state, vertices are not starting to overlap each other. However, in the end, it is a very similar process, whether to reduce or increase the weights of the lip joints. So again, you are welcome to try the other way and find out if this fits better for you. When you are done with the smoothing process, your deformation should approximately look like this. Don't worry about the deformation in this area. The only reason for that is that the mouth corner joint is not yet moved while opening the mouth, and that will be fixed the moment when we assign the joint movement to our animation control. And when we create the jaw open animation control, then we will let the mouth corner joint with the driven key also be moved, and this will fix the deformation of this area. As the last step, you can now mirror your skin weights. Again, make sure that you select only the jaw region for the mirroring and that you are in a neutral pose, because if you are in any deformation that is not symmetrical, the mirroring won't work.